Good morning, everyone. Today will be day 33 on the trail, hiking. We spent the night here we tented Walnut Mtn Shelter. And as you can see, it's an antique. Needs a little bit of work. All right, a lot of bit of work. But it was full when we got here. And we tented down there past that person. We had a little breakfast, some oatmeal, and some tea and cocoa. And we're going to head out shortly. It is 8:30. And our original plan, was to go to Deer Park Mountain Shelter, but it's only 3 miles shy of Hot Springs. So if we feel good, we'll push into Hot Springs. The tough part is finding a place to stay because everybody's got the idea of hanging out in Hot Springs for a day or two. We scrambled and got rooms for Wednesday, Thursday night, but we don't know if we can get any for tonight, Tuesday. But I'm willing to take a shot. I think Laughing Hearts Hostel lets you camp on their lawn, so worst comes to worst. But there is rain predicted for Thursday, so that'll be good that we're taking a 0 then. We're going to be getting going, so I'm going to close up here. I'll bring you all the highlights from the trail, which heads out right there. Came across this stand of white pine. With this lack of undergrowth, I'm going to guess at some point there was a fire in here. White pine loves the sun, so probably had a big opening here. I don't see a lot of down timber before, so I'm going to assume a fire came through here. And the white pine seeded in, and that's why you see no undergrowth. I've been running across these. I don't know what they are, but I have a funny suspicion these are the ripe fruit seed pods of those orange pine cone like things I saw yesterday. So I'm going to keep an eye out, see if I find them together. But still don't know what they are. But if you guys know, clue me in. When I get to town and have internet service, I could try looking them up. Sometimes I don't trust the results that Google gives you. We're climbing up, I forgot if it was Buff or Bluff Mountain. That's our significant climb of the day. It's Bluff, B-L-U-F-F. Once we're above that, it's mostly downhill except for a good sized bump and a couple little bumps. So, till I find something else that's interesting, enjoy some trail walking, and then I'll get back to you when I make an amazing ecological discovery, or just see something really cool. Here we are at top of Bluff Mountain. If you can find water, it'd be a nice place to camp. There are some camp tent sites right down over there by those rhododendrons. But while we're here, yesterday I talked about fungus and how it doesn't make its own food. So it doesn't photosynthesize, but it does have a way of getting food from photosynthesis. If you've ever seen lichens, there's some on the tree there. There's some patches here. There's my finger here. And you see them on the rock. What does happen is the fungus cannot make its own food. Algae, on the other hand, is a photosynthetic plant that can produce its own food. So what happens is algae and a fungus combine in a mutually beneficial relationship to form a lichen. Lichens are a fungal algae relationship where the fungus provides essentially a living space for the algae. The algae photosynthesizes, shares some of its food with the fungus. I don't know necessarily voluntarily, and they live together, helping each other out. So the fungus provides a space for the algae to get hold and stay and live, and then the algae provides nutrients as it photosynthesizes that the fungus can use in surviving. Now you know what a lichen is. Over here we got some more of that lungwort. That's lungwort that someone told me about. It is a barometer, or it is an indicator of very clean air, not full of sulfates and nitrates. So I've been seeing some trees that look like black cherry. I've been reluctant to claim it because, of course, down here I don't know if there's something that looks similar or not. That's not what I was looking for. If I see it again, I'll try to bring it to you. But the bark of a black cherry essentially looks like burnt potato chips. So I'll see if I can track some down further down the trail or up the trail. Is north up? It is on a map. All right, I'm being silly. Let me get moving. I'll catch you down the trail. As I'm coming down from Bluff Mountain, the sides of the hills are covered with these flowers, which I've taken previous pictures of. At this one patch, it's got a couple that are a little more purple than the others. Really beautiful. I guess spring is starting to sprung. Down at the lower elevations, I'm seeing more green. Not so many flowers except for these, but I imagine pretty soon we're going to see quite a explosion of plants and flowers. Let me get a couple close-ups of these purpler ones, and then I'll get back to hiking. Now that looks like a sugar maple. It's almost 3 feet in diameter. It's got the bark that flares off sideways and on the ends into the air. That's a beautiful tree. I see a couple more. There's a long downhill. I think it was like 2,500 feet in elevation I gotta lose. So we've been zigzagging down the hill. There's another sugar maple. That's an old birch. Good size yellow birch. For those of you who are thinking of tapping some sugar maples for syrup, I don't know what the season is down here, but in New York it runs mid-February to mid-March, maybe a little longer depending on the weather. The best times are when the days are above freezing and the nights are below freezing. So what happens is the sap moves up the tree on the warm days and goes back to the roots at night, so the tree doesn't crack from freezing. And as that sap flows, you can collect it. If I remember correctly, you're not supposed to tap a tree until it's about 8 or 9 inches in diameter, at which point it can take a single tap or so. And then as a tree gets bigger, you can add additional taps. And I forget, but you could look it up and find out. The number of taps depends on the diameter of the tree. And there's a very specific way to tap. You don't want to drill with like a power drill, because the speed of the drill will seal the xylem and the phloem. You want to hand drill it, put your spiles in, and traditional way would be to hang buckets. But now they have Mylar bags. They use tubing to run it to a big collection bin near the road, all downhill. Anyway, once you collect sap, you have to thicken it. I think sap contains about 3% sugar. So you have to boil off the water to get your sap concentrated down to syrup. And it's a very energy intensive. A lot of sap places or maple syruping places use firewood as it's cheap and easy way. But a lot of places now are using reverse osmosis to get most of the water out, and then firing it at the end to give it the final color. It takes about 40 gallons of sap to make 1 gallon of syrup. So you can imagine how much heat it takes to burn off 39 gallons of water. Yeah, I don't know what this I imagine the season here would be closer to January. But once the buds on the tree start to crack, then it bitters up the sap and leaves a taste in the syrup that's unappealing. Here's what I think is black cherry. As I said, burnt potato chips. But over here, you can see the lenticels that are typical of birches and cherries. The way to identify it by leaves, first of all, is alternate branching. But black cherry, if you turn over a leaf along the main rib near the base where it was attached, the stem of the leaf, but on the leaf part along the vein, there's an orange hair, fuzz. Scientists call it pubescent. There's an orange fuzz along the main rib where it's attached to the leaf. And of course, the way the cherries are only 1/4 to 3/8 inch in size, and they are, what's the best way to say it? There's a stem, and the cherries come off of that stem in a series. So they're all clustered along the stem, not all in one spot, but they're small cherries, and that's black cherry. You can also tell if it's cherry by scratching the bark and picking up that smell, that cyanide smell. So, which is why you shouldn't eat cherry pits, because when they react with your stomach acid, they release cyanide. It would take a lot to kill you, but just so you know. Black cherry is a sun-loving tree. Usually comes to a site after disturbance. Of course, animals drop the seeds after they eat the cherries, not out of their mouth. And it reaches for the sunlight really quickly. It has to get ahead of the other trees so it doesn't get shaded out. Also, trying to think what I was going to say. I saw something and I lost my train of thought. Oh well. Good enough. Still on this descent, covering some distance, so it's limited. Moving quick, so it's limiting my filming. But like I say, if anything interesting shows up, you'll be the first to know. Probably tired of me showing you this, but this whole flat spot is the result of needle ice. It's probably from there to there is about 4 feet, 3 feet, plus some over there. And then you got the stuff in the back there. That's not rock, that's ice back there. Cool stuff. I accidentally hit the button. That's needle ice. You can see the individual strands of ice. Got about a mile to Deer Park Mountain Shelter. I've been booking since lunchtime, covering ground, so I haven't been doing a lot of filming. Been mostly ups and downs. There was one pretty high stretch, but I charged up it. I had my uphill mojo this afternoon, so feel good about the hike today. Excuse me, the hike today. Sorry if it's a little bouncy. I'm still in turbo mode. Enjoy the trail. I like these are nice sections when they get like this. You can really get up to 3 miles an hour or so. I think I hear some hikers behind me. You probably heard them. So I'm going to close out. Put the phone away till I get close to the shelter. Or if I see something really, really cool. Not the best view, but something on the way down toward Hot Springs. Yeah, maybe that's better. You see the nearby range. We're back up on a ridge. Hang on a second. Good. And just been walking through the last couple hours. We're relatively, I don't know if it's because we haven't had much rain lately, or it's just the type of soil or the part of the mountains that we're in, but it seems to be pretty dry. Soil's dry. A lot of oaks. Oaks tend to do better. I think that one right there is a black oak. Anyway, oaks and hickories tend to predominate drier sites. They're more successful there. They're able to withstand the drier conditions, so maybe that's why these are predominantly oaks around here. If I had to guess, you get less of that morning condensation, because we're not, well, that's what the Smokies are famous for, the condensation, the mist in the air that gives them that Smokies name. So you can see soil pretty dry, not seeing as many flowering plants along the sides of the trail. Rockier soils, obviously. So, not too much to photograph as far as flowers and stuff like that. Probably got about 2.5 miles to Hot Springs, so it's good for another hour and a half. As I said, we had already booked Wednesday and Thursday night, since we're pushing on to come out Tuesday night, and we had trouble finding space on those nights. We don't know what we're doing as far as where we're staying tonight, but we'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. I'll find something. On that note, I'll give you a few more seconds of trail walking, and then I'll shut you down till we meet again. There's a big rock. Coming down to Hot Springs. And just make it out through the trees. It's gonna be home for a couple days. It's supposed to be very hiker friendly, so that should be nice. And we'll see what happens. We're here in Hot Springs. We just tried Laughing Heart Hostel, or the hostel at Laughing Heart Lodge, but they're pretty much booked up except for the bunk room, and we didn't want to do the bunk room. So we follow the trail to the road. We're on the sidewalk here now. I had to show you those. And we get close. When we get closer to town, we'll clue you in on some things. Or rather, we'll bring you along, I should just say. Not clue you in, no, nothing waiting to tell you or anything like that. The diner is one of the first places you see when you come into town. These AT symbols on the sidewalk are not just decorations. This sidewalk is the AT, and runs right through the entire sidewalk, runs right through the main drag of town, and it's marked with that, and occasional one of those.